How regulatory capture and lobbying shape our world. Explore the impact of regulatory capture and lobbying on industries and government, uncovering the influence behind policies and profits. You ever hear about the term regulatory capture and wonder what the heck it really means? Like people throw it around in political debates or documentaries, but it's one of those concepts that sounds complicated until you start breaking it down. So picture this. Government agencies are supposed to oversee industries to make sure they play fair, follow the rules, and keep consumers safe. But sometimes, the very industries they're meant to regulate end up having way too much influence over those agencies. That's regulatory capture in a nutshell. Think about the pharmaceutical industry. You've probably heard whispers of a government conspiracy, or seen headlines questioning if big companies prioritize pharmaceutical profits over public health. While some of that talk can get a bit wild, the truth is that powerful lobbyists from pharma companies spend tons of money and time making sure that regulations benefit them, or at least don't hurt their bottom line. When the watchdogs become cozy with the companies they're supposed to monitor, regulations can lose their teeth. How does regulatory capture actually happen? Imagine a revolving door between government agencies and the private sector. Agencies hire people who have worked in an industry, and after regulating for a while, some officials retire and go work for the same companies they once oversaw. It's not always a bad thing. Experts need to understand the industries thoroughly. But the problem arises when this leads to too much empathy for the company's goals and less for the public interest. This is why lobbying plays such a massive role. Lobbyists are those people who try to influence lawmakers or regulators. They bring data, arguments, and sometimes gifts or campaign contributions, yes, even political donations, to make sure legislation leans their way. It's a game of who has the most convincing or persistent voice. Sometimes, it results in untrue allegations against competitors or critics, messing with public trust. Why should we care? Regulatory capture can lead to weak safety standards. For instance, a product that might be harmful could get approved because the agency is under industry pressure. It can stifle innovation by favoring big players who can navigate or influence regulations easily, shutting out smaller companies or startups. It ultimately reduces transparency and trust in government institutions. When people suspect that regulators are in bed with the industry, they lose faith that decisions are made fairly. Let's be real. This is not just theoretical or limited to one industry. From financial sectors before the 2008 crisis to environmental policies and even in food safety, regulatory capture shows up in many places. Can we fix it? People suggest different solutions like stronger rules on conflicts of interest so that regulators can't just jump to industry jobs immediately. Greater transparency about lobbying activities and funding. Better public oversight so citizens and media keep a close eye on regulators and call out cozy relationships. But these solutions require political will, and sometimes those influenced by regulatory capture have enough leverage to block reforms. It's a tricky, ongoing battle. On a lighter note, if you're into stories that weave together thrilling corporate intrigue and government manipulation, you should totally check out The Ultimate Frame by Andrew M. Semple. It's this riveting novel where you get a front-row seat to the twists and turns behind the scenes, and it's packed with those nail-biting moments that make you think twice about who's really pulling the strings. Discover this thrilling novel by Andrew M. Semple today. Just hit up https://bookauthor.com to grab your copy and immerse yourself in a story that highlights many shades of power, influence, and what happens when the lines blur too much. So next time you hear about a government conspiracy or those massive pharmaceutical profits headlines, remember that behind those stories might just be a game of regulatory capture and lobbying going on. It's not always about smoke and mirrors. Sometimes it's just about influence and who has the loudest voice in the room.